In 1946, Britain owed more money than at any point in its history. 250% of everything the country produced in a year. By the early 1970s, that number had fallen below 65%. Here's the strange part. There was no massive check written, no windfall, no default. The debt didn't get paid off. It got quietly worth less. And once you understand how that trick works, you'll never look at your savings account the same way again. This isn't ancient history. It's happening again. Global government debt just crossed $100 trillion. The US owes more than its entire economy produces in a year. Japan owes over 260% of GDP. If a household owed triple its annual income, you'd call that a crisis. But these governments keep borrowing, investors keep lending, nothing collapses. Why? Because governments don't actually need to eliminate a debt. They just need to shrink what it's worth, and that's a very different, much quieter kind of magic trick. Say you lend a friend $100. They promise to pay you back in 10 years. 10 years pass. They hand you exactly $100. Technically, debt paid, deal honored. But here's the catch. In those 10 years, prices doubled. Rent, groceries, everything. That $100 now buys half of what it used to. Your friend paid every dollar they owed, and still, you got robbed. Just slowly enough that it never felt like a crime. That's inflation. It doesn't erase the number on the page. It quietly hollows out what that number is worth. Do that to a government's debt for long enough, and a mountain quietly becomes a hill. Inflation alone isn't the whole trick. There's a second piece, and it's the one nobody talks about. Interest rates. Say your savings account pays you 2% a year. Sounds fine. Except inflation is running at 4%. Your balance goes up. Your purchasing power goes down. You are, mathematically, losing money, while your bank statement tells you you're gaining it. Economists have a term for this, a negative real interest rate. And when that happens, savers quietly lose, and borrowers quietly win. Guess who's usually the biggest borrower in any economy? The government. This has a name too, financial repression. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. It isn't. It's policy, documented, studied, and used more than once in modern history. After World War II, both Britain and the United States were drowning in debt, the kind of debt that, on paper, should have broken them. It didn't. For decades, the popular explanation was simple. They grew their way out of it. Strong economies, rising GDP, problem solved. But that story has a hole in it. Economists Carmen Reinhart and Belen Sprancia, along with researchers at the IMF, went back and modeled what would have happened with growth alone. No surprise inflation, no suppressed interest rates. The number didn't lie. Growth alone would have only brought US debt down to around 74% by 1974. What actually happened? It fell to 23%. Growth explains less than half the story. The rest, the bigger half, came from something almost nobody was told was happening to their money. There was no headline, no announcement, no vote you could have shown up to protest. Just years of interest rates sitting quietly below inflation, savers absorbing a loss they were never told about, debt shrinking in the dark. And here's the irony worth sitting with. We're taught that saving money is the responsible thing to do. That debt is the risky choice. For years at a time, under this particular mechanism, it works almost backwards. Savers quietly fund the correction. Borrowers quietly benefit from it. Nobody signs anything. Nobody agrees to it. It just happens to you gradually while you're busy living your life. Global debt today is larger, in absolute terms, than it has ever been in human history. Governments have options: raise taxes, cut spending, grow the economy, restructure what they owe, or, quietly, patiently, let inflation and low rates do the work instead. History suggests which option tends to get chosen when the debt gets big enough. So next time someone tells you a government paid off its debt, ask a different question. Did the number actually disappear, or did the value of the money just quietly change instead? Because the biggest financial shifts in history rarely come with a headline or a crash. Most of the time they happen 1 percentage point at a time, and by the time anyone notices, the transfer has already happened.